I had a student a while ago that gave me what I thought was the kindest compliment. And he told me, he said, I have been wanting to learn this contemporary style for a long time. And he said, all of my voice teachers have been classical or classically trained. And he said, I can tell that they were trying to teach me commercial technique with their classical pedagogical tools, and it wasn't fitting. And he said, I really appreciate that you've taken the time to see some of those differences and to be able to teach it in a way where I can get it and I can do it. And it's not just like you serving me classical technique to sing in this other style and it don't fit, and I can tell that. Okay, so I'm telling y'all that, teachers, I'm talking to y'all today. I'm telling you that because it really is lazy when we don't take time to do the work to find the nuances and to find the differences when we're training contemporary vocalists so that we can serve them at our best level. So you want to invest in learning what are the differences between the different styles and how do I teach them. So coming from a classical background, a lot of time in teaching, of course, we're talking about breathing and posture and tension and all of that. And I'm not saying that stuff is not important, but what I'm saying is when you building a contemporary voice, starting off with that can sometimes lose your client. Okay, case in point, when I first started teaching crossover methods, I had a singer that's a worship leader, and she was just wanting like the basics, like, confidence to sing in public and all that stuff. And so I was just learning how to do crossover technique. And so I was really kind of slow to edge into that teaching. So I was still flowing more heavily from my classical pedagogy. And so I was beginning with breath. We were going to do all these modules on breathing and all this stuff. And when we got on like week 3 of breathing, I could tell her eyes were just glazed over. I'm like, this baby is wore out with this breathing. This is not really what she's asking for. So I had to adjust my system. I had to adjust my method, okay, to meet her where she was so she didn't tap out. There are 2 main areas that you want to focus on when building commercial voices, primarily starting out. You want to focus on vocal cords and you want to focus on the resonators. Okay, so I say the vibrators and the resonators. That's what you want to focus on, right? Not breathing. You want to learn how to align their bridges. That's the first thing you need to do, because here's the thing. If a singer is voice breaking and cracking and flipping and all that going on, nobody cares how well you breathe if your voice ain't aligned. Okay, and I got that from Seth Riggs. I'm like, man, that makes so much sense. So when we're training commercial singers, we're not spending all this long drawn out time on breathing. You can spend a week, maybe 2 on it or whatever, but then go on and start building the instrument. So you want to secure their bridges and establish their vocal registers. That's the first thing you want to do. Okay. Of course, the bridges are going to be the passaggi, the areas where they're transitioning. You want to make sure to secure those. I primarily do that through vocal fry in the beginning. I find that to be a fantastic strategy. And then, of course, you want to secure their register. So make sure their chest voice is solid, their head voice, and then, of course, their mix so that they're prepared to start blending registers. Okay. The second thing you want to focus on is refined chord closure. Again, the vocal cords. You want to get their chord closure refined through vocal fry. So this is going to help them learn how to get more sound without pushing and straining and all of that. Vocal fry is fantastic. It's just the inner edges of the vocal cords coming together, and this is going to set them up to have a great command over their instrument when it comes to dynamics. The refined chord closure through the vocal fry is also going to help them to get an enhanced tone quality. So they're going to sound sharper, pingier, what's perceived to the listener as more powerful, but it's without straining and pulling weight up. Okay, so you don't want to skip the vocal fry. Okay, now you can observe your singer. You got to look and see who's in front of you and kind of what's up and kind of sense and feel. But for me, what I find with a lot of my singers, that agility and flexibility is not in the voice. So we have to go back and we have to train them on light voice, agile voice, flexible voice. Okay. And of course, these are your riffs, runs. You can do staccato work. Do you know what I'm saying? But you've got to sell your singer on the idea of light and right is better than strong and wrong. Okay, because especially if they are in the contemporary realm, musical theater, or listen to contemporary, a lot of times they're listening to these studio recordings, their favorite artists, these big old voices. And so that's the sound that they have in their ear. And they're trying to mimic that, and they're pushing and they're straining and they're screaming and they're messing up their instrument. So you as the teacher have to sell them on the fact of light and right is better than strong and wrong. Let's master the light voice production, the light voice mechanism first. Then what I say, you can put some beef on it and do some more powerful styles of singing, like your chest belt and things like that. But I'm just giving you the steps of how to start, so you don't go in with that classical approach and these singers are like, wait a minute, what you talking about? Do you know what I'm saying? Another thing too, bel canto voice teachers, we have to learn how to speak the language that the singers will understand and not talk in science terms. I know a lot of y'all are super intelligent. You know, we doctors of voice, pedagogy, we're science nerds, ped heads and all of that. But when you get these commercial singers in here, they don't care nothing about that. Can you take that science knowledge that you got and put it in simple terms so this student in front of you can get the result that they want? That's all they care about. And so for us, sometimes we have to practice that, for sure. We have to practice it. And then if we have a little bit of a pride and a complex with how much we know, and we got to talk so much and tell how much we know, then we got to deal with that too. I'm going to just be honest with y'all. I love everybody, but I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you, okay? All right, so that's it.